In 2009, BlackBerry was one of the fastest growing company in the world. They were worth over $80 billion. The President of the United States was physically addicted to their device.
I was this cool high-tech guy when I got there, right?
Yeah.
And I was the first president to have a BlackBerry. And so years pass.
If you didn't have one, you were nobody. And 6 years later, it was over. The brand that defined the 2000 became a punchline. How did a company that taught the world to communicate forget how to listen? BlackBerry was more than an electronic device. It was a status symbol. And for a glorious brief moment, it was the future of mobile communication. But how did the company that dominated the smartphone market before it even had a name for it fall so spectacularly? Our story begins in the late 90s. Back then, mobile phones were mostly dumb. Calls and maybe SMS. The internet slow, clunky, barely usable. In 1984, two engineers in Waterloo, Ontario, Mike Lazaridis and Jim Balsali, started a company, Research in Motion, or RIM. Their focus wasn't phones at first, it was pager and email technology. A pager or beeper is a small wireless telecommunication device used to receive short numeric or text messages. In 1996, they released the interactive pager 900. It's clunky, it's not particularly sexy, but it does something revolutionary. Two-way paging. You could send messages to. It was a hint of what was to come. In 1999, the real breakthrough happened. The RIM H50 was released, the first BlackBerry. Though it wasn't called that yet. It wasn't flashy, it didn't have a big screen, it didn't even look like a phone. But it had one killer feature, push email. Emails didn't need to be refreshed, they just arrived. For business professionals, this was magic. Suddenly, executives could reply to emails anywhere. Deals could be closed on the move. Communication became instant. And then came the signature element, the tiny QWERTY keyboard. Clicky, precise, addictive. BlackBerry wasn't just a gadget, it became a status symbol. If you had one, you mattered. By the mid-2000s, BlackBerry was unstoppable. Governments trusted it, corporations depended on it, even world leaders used it daily. Why? Because BlackBerry wasn't just about convenience, it was about security. Their encrypted messaging system made it nearly impossible to hack. In a world increasingly going digital, that was priceless. And this is where we have to talk about a dark but pivotal moment. On September 11, 2001, when the terror attack happened in the World Trade Center, traditional communication networks collapsed under the sheer volume of calls in New York City. BlackBerry's dedicated secure data network remained operational. While others were struggling for a signal, users with BlackBerries were still sending and receiving crucial information. That day solidified BlackBerry's reputation for one thing above all else, security and reliability. Then came BlackBerry Messenger or BBM. Before WhatsApp, before iMessage, before Telegram. BBM was instant messaging before everyone had unlimited data plans. It was fast, reliable, and free between BlackBerry users. In an era where text messages cost money, this was a game changer, creating a massive network effect. If all your friends had BBM, you had to have a BlackBerry to stay in the loop. This reliability, combined with a feature that would become legendary, fueled the golden days from 2001 to around 2007. At its peak, the company was worth around $80 billion. They controlled nearly 50% of the US smartphone market and 20% of the global market. Their servers were so secure and efficient that governments complained they couldn't spy on them. But as with all good stories, a storm was brewing. On January 9, 2007, a man in black turtleneck walked onto a stage and said,
Today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
and that was Steve Jobs introduced the first iPhone. How did BlackBerry react? With a fair bit of arrogance. Many at BlackBerry laughed at it. Who wants to type on glass, they said. While BlackBerry focused on physical keyboards and enterprise users, competitors were thinking differently. Bigger screens, apps, touch interaction, entertainment. Soon after, Android followed. BlackBerry underestimated one crucial shift. Phones were no longer just tools, they were becoming lifestyle devices. Consumers didn't just want emails, they wanted social media, games, music, cameras, apps for everything. And BlackBerry, it was slow to adapt. BlackBerry tried to catch up. They released touchscreen phones, they launched a new operating system, they even created an app store, but it was too late. Developers had already moved to iOS and Android. Users followed the app, and without app, a smartphone isn't very smart. Their new devices felt like imitations, not innovations. In early 2012, with the company in free fall, both Mike Lazaridis and Jim Balsali stepped down as co-CEOs. A new leader, Thorstein Heinz, was brought in to save the ship. He staked everything on a new operating system, BlackBerry 10. In 2013, after multiple delays, BlackBerry 10 launched. The phones were modern, sleek, and had a great gesture-based interface. But it was too little, too late. The app ecosystem still wasn't there. BBM, their ultimate weapon, was finally open to other platforms, which was the final admission that BBM network effect was gone. By 2016, BlackBerry announced it would stop making its own phones and focus solely on software and security, a sector where it still had a legacy of excellence. So, what can we learn from this tragic fall? It's a classic brutal story of innovator's dilemma. BlackBerry was so good at one thing, the secure QWERTY-based phones, and they were so profitable from it that they couldn't see the world was changing around them. They were prisoners of their own success. As we have seen in the Kodak story as well in our previous video. They were brilliant engineers, but they failed at one key thing. They didn't listen to what the ordinary user wanted until it was far too late. BlackBerry taught the world how to be connected, but they couldn't survive the world they created. They believed the future would be typed, but the world decided it wanted to be touched. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next one.